Today, we're gonna study about mechanics of movement. This lecture contains some basic physics applications, but I'm gonna try to explain them sufficiently so it could make sense and will be applied only when necessary. So don't worry, let's start. Speed is defined as a rate at which body moves and take no account of the direction. For example, a gentleman walked 3 kilometers per hour. Role of speed in clinicals while performing various exercises and technique is quite important. Speed must be kept slow and uniform while performing relaxation techniques or exercises. Speed is basically divided into three categories in which we usually perform active movements. There is a natural speed for every exercise. Still, this natural speed varies at some extent from person to person. Effects of exercises can be modified by changing the speed in order to increase range of motion or to achieve maximum range of motion. Exercise must perform slowly, although it may require a great muscular effort and more neuromuscular control. By performing exercises rapidly, you can increase the range of motion, but sometimes it leads to inaccurate or trick movements, and goal of achieving full range of motion is remain unfulfilled. Although performing exercise with fast speed also required great muscular effort, but in this case momentum is gained, which is assists the movement. Therefore, while performing or recommending exercise, always give the clear instructions regarding speed of movement. Parameters of movement are interrelated. Not a single factor is capable of completely describing movement by itself. For example, acceleration and velocity involve displacement and time, but they are insufficient unless force and movement are considered. So, velocity is defined as a rate of motion, but also the direction. For example, a boy is running with a speed of 5 km per hour in an easterly direction. If there is a change in speed or direction, we will say velocity is altered or altered velocity. Linear velocity is defined as if the body moves in one direction. For example, a car is traveling with a speed of 60 km per hour in an easterly direction. But if a body is moving at a certain degree or at an angle, we call it angular velocity. If you look at this block, it is moving at a certain angle with a particular speed. Here is an example of combined velocities. In human body, linear and angular velocity also generate simultaneously. For example, during walking, the legs not only move forward and backward, they also rotate laterally during the forward swing, during contact of the foot with the ground, and again during the recovery phase of the stride. In this picture, you can see the example of angular velocity and linear velocity. Acceleration is the name we give to any process where the velocity changes. As you know that velocity is dependent upon speed and direction. There are only two ways for you to accelerate, either to change your speed or to change your direction or change the both. If you are not changing your speed and you are not changing your direction, then you simply cannot be accelerating, no matter how fast you are going. Here is an example of acceleration, how rocket is accelerating and deaccelerating, that how the velocity is increasing or decreasing. The momentum of a body is the quantity of motion it possesses, and it is represented as a product of mass and velocity. Now look at this figure, which shows that when a car is acted upon a force of a trunk, the momentum of car is changed into the direction of the force, and also the momentum is proportionate to the amount of applied force and to the duration of the force acting upon the body. The force which is responsible for the momentum will generate movement slowly in a relatively heavy body and more rapidly in lighter body. Okay, now look at this figure. I hope you will understand what I was trying to explain. Momentum is directly associated with inertia. The greater the inertia of the body, the greater the force that must be applied to change the momentum. A ball hits the other ball and other balls start moving, and it because of momentum. So question raised here, what is inertia? Inertia is defined as the resistance of a body to any change in its state of rest or motion. It is also defined as reverse effective force of a body. A body at rest remains at rest indefinitely while a moving body tends to continue moving at a constant speed in a straight line unless acted upon by a force. From clinical point of view, this picture is also the perfect illustration of inertia in a body. In body, weak muscles may be unable to exert sufficient force to overcome the inertia, but yeah, they may be able to produce movement or control with assistance at the right moment. Friction is a force which opposes the motion of a moving body when it slides over another surface. Okay, here is another example which explains Newton's first law and friction. When the net force is equals to the friction force, the body will move at constant speed. When applied force is greater than the force of friction, the body will accelerate. And when applied force is less than the frictional force, the body will deaccelerate. There are three types of friction: limiting friction, dynamic friction, and stretching friction. It is well to keep 2 points of friction in mind. The first point is that once an object is set in motion, example, an adjustment of vertebra, it takes less force to keep it moving. The friction effect of contacting surfaces at rest is constant, but this friction effect is greatly reduced once motion takes place. As it takes more force to get a heavy box sliding than to keep it sliding, it takes more force to free a fixated subluxated articulation in its initial position than to adjust it to its normal site. This concept is demonstrated in quick dynamic chiropractic adjustments as opposed to relatively slow leveraged adjustment of osteopathy. The second point is that contacting surface, example, articular surfaces produce a great frictional effect that has no relation with the size of the contact area. Thus, a certain action force, which is a contacting force, produce a given frictional effect whether the contact surfaces are large or small. There are many instances in practice where the effects of friction are desirable and undesirable. Lubricants are used in deep tissue loading to reduce skin friction. A felt or a fabric foam rubber pad is used under an elastic bandage to enhance gripping of the area firmly and to more evenly distribute the compressive forces of the bandage. The frictional forces within the joints help greatly in stabilizing the body at rest. However, these forces must be assisted especially by the stabilizing forces of muscles and ligaments and the deformation of articular cartilage under the load.